graded class discussion. You'll get it for a grade if you're behind on your needed graded class discussions. If you already have your 4 graded ones, then it's for extra credit. And that's also what tonight's may be. But we will be gathering next week. All right, so talking about our topic, we are on the last stage of that treatment process that we also refer to sometimes as the therapeutic process. So remember, it began with building rapport. We meet that consumer, that patient, that client. We gather information with an assessment. We identify sort of what the problems are, what's going on, and we make a plan. That plan's where we have the goals, and then it's from that plan and goals that we decide what strategies we're going to use. That's where we might be picking things like affective strategies, focusing in on helping someone with a problem related to their emotions or feelings. We might use a cognitive strategy, that's helping someone who the problem is related to their thinking. Or we might use a behavioral strategy, and it's related to someone's actions or behaviors. And sometimes we might pull a strategy from multiple ones of those categories. After we have started doing those strategies, then it's going to be time to evaluate. And at this evaluation point is when we make decisions of what comes next. And it's in one of these 3 things. We're going to keep going, we're going to change something up, or will we terminate or end services? So termination, or this ending of services, is a process. We will assess, so gathering information of what's the progress. That's when we have a plan and goals. So it's not like, oh, we've spent a happy 5 Thursdays together, so how are we doing? Instead, we're going to look at the goal. Was the goal to get better at a certain skill? Was it so we could learn to ride a bus by ourselves, or cook our own meals, or live independently by doing certain tasks? Then we summarize, okay, did we fully complete that goal? Or are we still working on it? And from that, we make this decision. So this is where the decisions go. Option A, hey, we're making good progress. Let's keep on that path. Continue those same goals and interventions. Possibly we're ready to add some more goals. So whatever we're doing is working, so we're going to keep doing it. Yeah, Dimitri.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Ms. Zook. So I was wondering, like the little slide or the last information you were just going over. So for our our last assignment, could that possibly be used in the like evaluating progress, like towards the end of it? Or you not? We shouldn't. I shouldn't do that.
So when you're doing, tell me, I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. See if you can reframe that. Maybe
Yeah,
I
yes,
can.
ma'am. I was like for this unit 6, the
Mhm.
our charts that we have to fill out.
Uh-huh.
So for the evaluating progress, I was wondering, is that basically like you're saying, like could I add on like determinations at the bottom of that for like just to
Yeah, yeah. So at that point, you're going to be making some of these decisions, or
okay.
you might be doing one of these. So yeah, what I'm talking about is that part of the chart.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
some of this information may be good. Now, when you're filling that out, make it specific to that individual.
Okay.
So you're going to, what we're going to evaluate is, did those goals and interventions work? So that would be what you make reference to. Okay, I was going to work with him on,
Okay.
having fewer anger outbursts.
Okay.
We did this great intervention of, the emotions balloons, and he was able to monitor himself better. So now we're evaluating. It's at this point we say, okay, we're going to keep doing that intervention and add some more goals. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
Okay, good application of that. Good deal. So option one of what you might be doing is keeping on the same path because you were doing a good plan, you were showing some progress, you just maybe haven't gotten to fully completing the goal. Now, another thing that might come up is that you met the goal. Not only were you on the right path, everything was going great, but you accomplished the goal. So you might be at a point that, okay, we're going to end services now. You've made progress, we've set out what we're going to do. Or we might say, we're going to end that goal and update your plan to add some more goals. This can vary by the agencies you work with. Some types of services we work with go on for a while. So if you're working with someone with intellectual and developmental disabilities, they might have plans that get updated every year, and that's when they might end some goals and start new ones. But if you're working in a crisis placement, there's probably going to be one goal, and that's to get stabilized. And when you've made that progress and you've gotten stabilized, then you terminate the services. Is there another question? I saw that, Dimitri. Or is your hand still
Oh, I'm
up from
sorry.
the
Yes, I'll
first
never
one?
put it back down. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, no problem. No problem. I just didn't want to miss something. All right. And then the third thing that can happen at this point is progress hasn't been made. So that means we shouldn't just keep spinning our wheels and doing the same thing. We want to pay attention to changing things up. So we might have to change the interventions. We're working on this, but hey, the strategy we're using isn't working, so let's change it. Or maybe we still have confidence in that intervention, but the goal's not right. So let's say we were working on reducing or improving someone's coping skills, but we find out, hey, they have some substance abuse issues we didn't know about. Let's work first on changing that goal to work towards sobriety, and then we're going to work on the anger and aggression. Or we might get to a point that we say, hey, this problem is no longer a good match for us or our agency. So we are going to end services working with us, but we're going to refer you out somewhere else so that you can be a better match for help. That may be the same thing. You're working with, say, again, my example of someone who's working on coping skills with their anger, but we find out there's some substance abuse needs. So instead of continuing to spin the wheels and work on this anger and aggression when we're not, ignoring the substance abuse, we might refer someone out to where they can get inpatient treatment for their substance abuse needs, and then they might later come back to you. All right. So as we're doing all these things and getting ready for ending services or adjusting them, things can come up. And these were some things that you, I think, were part of your unit for this past week. We might have clients be resistant to ending services. We might see some things sometimes that they regress or they bring up less confidence because they aren't certain about this end that's coming up. Sometimes the counselor, the helper, might be resistant to ending services. We really like working with this person. We feel good about our work when we're with them, and we're resistant to stopping, even though all the signs show that it fits and it's time to make that closure. So let me throw out some questions to you. Hey there, Lauren. Glad you're here. Who's the better judge of when services should end? The counselor or the client? Who's going to know that better? Now let's throw out some answers in the chat box.
Maybe both.
Okay, so we think possibly both.
Or guiding each other back and forth.
Okay.
I would think the counselor would have idea first anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, both
So
answers are good too, though.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of both with that. So let me pose that back. What will the counselor bring to that? What will they know that would make that their input's important?
I believe each step, as you were demonstrating to us, each step in every goal, and through this therapeutic process, even with the client or the family as well, just being able to achieve those like goals as we were saying, and if not achieving them, then being able to get them help, and then let them come
Okay.
back if possible.
Okay, so the counselor's going to have insight about understanding the goals. They might have some insights about how well the strategies are working. Um,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
and
Also, possibly, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but possibly
yeah,
even as we would learn our clients, starting to see their behavior and their actions, and then knowing, okay, this week we should focus on this, and then the following week focus on that, and just try to keep on schedule as as you're telling me.
okay, okay. So yeah, so as a counselor, we're going to have some insights about the scheduling and the pacing. Yeah, those are great. Megan, you're going to add to that?
Yes, I was more kind of like what he just said. I would think that, you may have a plan, but everybody, life does happen. So with a client, they could be totally stable in one session and then need an immediate session shortly after, and maybe the plans for determination would end soon or would end later or be reevaluated.
Certainly. Evaluation is going to be an ongoing process like that. So if something else comes up, we might have to reevaluate if they're ready for that. We'll imagine that some regression might happen, and just regression in itself is not reason we would not continue with ending. We would just work on helping their confidence. Amanda, you wanted to add to that?
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Oh, good. Okay, because my computer wasn't working. Yeah, I do have adding to that, but just in terms of like when counseling should end, and I guess this is just some personal disclosure. Sorry, class, but I've been counseling for about a year, and my counselor says that it's time to terminate just because we've achieved the goals, but I don't feel ready, and I don't know if that's just because like I look forward to those times, or if um, because she believes I'm ready and I don't believe I'm ready. And so what do we do in that situation?
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to generalize that. So we won't keep it all about you on your personal example, but in general, that idea that the counselor and the client may have difference of opinions if we're ready to end. And who's the better judge with that? We've been saying the counselor's going to have a lot of insights about strategies, approaches, and pacing. We also are going to recognize that a client sometimes is going to be their own best expert, and they're going to be bringing some things to the table of being able to express what strengths they have or what needs they still have. And then the part that we haven't quite fully um, looked at is this idea of regression that is going to be very normal at the point of getting ready for a closure, that someone who's been comfortable with getting services and supports is going to feel some resistance and some fears or some lack of confidence of readiness for that. I want to expand with this and look at this idea of, readiness does not automatically mean that everything's going wonderfully. It also doesn't mean that there won't be more problems arising. What instead it means is that there is ready to try this without the professional support, that enough gains have been made that trying this now, we should be ready to do that move. And I think that's maybe where a space that you're at there, Amanda. Let's try another question. We sometimes have services ending being driven by the third party, which is a crazy word for the money that may be paying for someone to get services. Can be insurance. So let's imagine a scenario. Hey, you're working with this person. It's been 6 months and finances moved. So let's say, they lost their job and they lost their insurance that came with that. So now they can no longer afford the fees. Or sometimes insurance can say, hey, they came to their limit. We're not going to pay for more. So this person's made some great progress. They may be close to wrapping things up, but the money ending came first. What should you do at this point? What plays out at this point? Anyone have any comments? Go for it, Colette.
I guess I'd say probably refer them to a community resources that may waive, fees. So it may be free for certain incomes or those with no health insurance. So
Okay.
yeah, I would definitely refer them and not just terminate.
Super. Those are the great things. Those are things that you're going to look at, and it looks like Crystal was right behind you with that thought process. So that we think we're close. We want to give the person the option. Hey, we can wrap this up. It looks like we're going to have to because of what's happening with the money and being able to keep going. But here are some other support options, and we try to get those. They may not be an exact replica of what you were doing, an exact match, but they might be some other safety net supports. So good deal. Let's throw out an ethical question. So you've been working with someone over 12 months. They've made some excellent progress. There's no new issues going on, but you really like working with this person. You actually kind of look forward to those times you're, meeting up with them. So you kind of like to just keep working with them. You feel good after your sessions with them, all those things. So what are the ethical issues here?
You're not working towards a goal together.
Okay,
Where there
so
was a
the
goal
goal may
before,
be
there's not a
gone?
goal needs to be met anymore.
Absolutely. Colette, what are you going to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar, that wouldn't that cross into a different type of relationship now instead of client and counselor now is borderline friendship. If you're looking, if you don't want to end,
Right.
then you're
All right.
claims because if there's not a problem, then and you're submitting to the insurance that there is a problem, to continue.
Absolutely. Lauren also chimed in here that getting too close platonically, we're going to lose sight of the client's goals. I think that Daniel said that about the goals. And Colette was talking about we kind of are shifting the relationship here. So remember what we were talking about last week, boundaries, that it's not about us. So we're making our decisions driven by our client's goals. So good. And how about you've been working with a client for about 4 months and much progress has gone on. But at this point, you believe they might do better being in a group setting. But hey, your agency doesn't run groups. You do know of a group counselor who's starting a new group. Should you cut off your services and refer this client to the group? Anyone, what do you think on that one?
I think if all goals have been met and you convey that to the client and just let them know, hey, look, you're doing well. I think you would do well in a group setting, and the client is for it, then it's no problem. And I don't think it's an issue with referring someone to a group, even if you know that person, unless you're getting a kickback from it.
Right. Okay. So good point. So we did flag that, oh, are we sending them there because we know this person? Is there any other sort of kickbacks or other things going on with that. Also, I think we're just going to want to make sure that same point we started, who is the best expert with this? And it's shared, that client and counselor. So instead of maybe saying, oh, I just cut off your services because I referred you onto this group, we want to bring it as a choice and make them two separate things. You're ready to finish up our goals and services. I think this might be a good option for you. Here's what I think. You make the choice and give it to the client to put them in that choice. So good deal. How about this issue? So, hey, you've been working with this person, you've gone out and done, connected with them 2 times, and they said, hey, I'm done with you, buddy. Send me on to this other agency. How do you react?
I think I would definitely and I don't mean like I guess sound like questionable about it, but I would ask him like, is there something possibly that that is wanting to push you to another agency, or is there something like I could work on myself as as a clientician, and I can work
Okay,
out.
okay. So feeling that there's a fair, like, oh, I thought things were going pretty well with us. Can you tell me more about why you want to make this decision?
Yes.
And then Colette said, but ultimately, it sounds like she's saying, let's refer them. It's not about you. It's about their well-being. Okay. That is a tricky scenario that can come up. I can give you some kind of personal information. I directed a mental health agency here in the Triad for 10 years ago, for about the 10 years before that. And a lot of things would happen in the community mental health. Sometimes there was some less than ethical ways that other agencies were going after clients or trying to, grab referrals for clients back and forth from agencies. So it became a tricky area. The upfront and the sticking with ethics was that it is going to be decision and choice from the client of where they get their services from, but that you can provide as much assistance to let them make an informed choice. So if there's information that they might not know about why it might be helpful for them to stick with you, you can share that, but then it still is ultimately going to be theirs. So it's a tricky thing that we've gotten into sometimes. And this kind of leans on some things we talked about in last unit, but I think they're important to look at here in this one. When we're wrapping up things, sometimes we use symbols or rituals, mementos. This may be a time when the clients might be bringing gifts. You all did really well on the scenario in our homework that we got to politely decline the big monstrous gift, but a gift that is low monetary value is acceptable for us to have. Sometimes we also, in our agencies or in our communication with the client, want to do something that is symbolic of a closure. So this sometimes can be, I worked at a residential treatment facility for adolescents, and we had a graduation event when it was time. That it wasn't a school graduation, but they were graduating from exiting our treatment program. And that was an opportunity not to lavish them with gifts, but we were going to be able to lavish them with praise and feedback and things that they could take with them. And you can think about that there's various ways when that's appropriate to include that, because as humans, that's an important piece for us for closure and transitions. All right. And let me finish up with one last question. You guys can jump in. This one's probably a little bit more to put in the box, but start typing this one in. Imagine your interviewer for your dream job. So you picture what that is. says, did you ever take a class on counseling and tell me something valuable you learned? So what comes first to your mind of something that you would share? And I think, was there a hand up? Did I miss somebody? Hand up?
I was going to ask a question about the gift giving and stuff like that. Just like,
Okay.
is it ever like if a client were to like draw you a picture or something like that, it obviously has no monetary value. If the client seemed like they were attracted to you and they gave you that, would that be something that would be appropriate to decline, to not give the wrong idea?
I mean, they're drawing a picture of you. It's an artwork. I think you're going to have to in the judgment with that. There's not a monetary value, so it wouldn't fall into that. They draw a picture of you, and it gets hearts and kisses, and it looks like something you would give more to a significant other. Then you're going to, make that judgment with that. All right, I see relationship, boundaries, building rapport, different therapeutic strategies. All right, keep them coming. Let's see how you would answer this one. Keep your ideas coming, and I'm going to switch us then to our group stuff. Build your rapport, getting to the client, make them feel comfortable. All right. Let me see a few more, and we'll shift gears then. All right, so that's about that, building the rapport and then boundaries. Okay, these would be things an interviewer would have their eyes, they pay attention to these. These are good answers. All right, we have any more? Okay, different cultures, right? The different strategies, good. Okay. Well, let's shift and we're going to put some action now. We'll be back with you all. We're going to do our small groups, but let me walk through. It will show up a little bit different. I'm going to give you the Google, the form. So just like you've used before, you have someone be the scribe in your group. You're going to have one question that is your discussion question about the book. And then you're going to use the time to create the questions. I've got room on the form for maybe about 5 or 6 questions. Try to come up with at least 3 of them. And I give you some categories to be thinking about them. You can work down them in order, or you can jump around which ones you create. I will come around and let your groups know that it'll be time, and at that point you will submit your forms so I can have them all in a sense gathered up, and I'm going to bring you back as a large group, and then we're going to have some little bit of discussion. We'll see how much I can use our tools to make it game format, but we'll try out some of your questions. Okay, so some things will look similar. You're going to get the Google form. So there's the link. You're going to be in your small groups, have a scribe as your small groups, get input from everyone, but the type of question is where this is going to change. You'll have one discussion question that will look familiar from like the other weeks, and then you're going to get creative and you're going to make questions. All right, so we'll give this a try. Take a look at getting that Google form, and I'm going to move you into breakout groups. Hey there, Tamika. I'm going to move you into a group.